Hey, and welcome to The Short Stuff. I'm Josh, and there's Chuck, and there's the special but normal producer Dave here. I just mean special like in a way that
Sure.
everybody's special in all the right ways.
That's right, in a romper room sort of way.
That's exactly right. And I'll tell you something else that's special, Chuck. Something very special happened on August 20, 2014, over the magnetic North Pole of this here planet Earth. For the first time in the history of humanity, we documented what's known as a space plasma hurricane. Isn't that neat?
It's neat, and this is something that wasn't fully, it was documented here and there, but Nature Communications wrote about it in February of this year, so I think it got a lot more attention 7 years after the fact, almost 7 years. But yeah, this was, like you said, above the North Pole. It happened over a few hours. The result of what happened up there was there were some satellites that were disrupted. The geomagnetic field got a little hinky for a little while. But back here on Earth, well below the ionosphere, we were just like, I don't know what I was doing on August 20th, 2014. I could probably go back and look.
It was that unremarkable, though.
I wasn't thinking about space hurricanes.
No, because no one really noticed, because in August, that's a pretty terrible time typically to see the auroras, or at least the aurora borealis, because the days are so much longer than the nights, so you can't really see these fantastic light displays. But had you been able to see the aurora borealis that night, you would have been knocked right out of your hiking boots, basically, because this was, again, a space hurricane. It doesn't happen every day, and we don't really understand fully how they happen or why, but they're called space hurricanes because from what we saw, from what this Nature Communications paper from February 2021 said, it bears a striking resemblance to a tropical hurricane or a cyclone or an Atlantic hurricane, where there's a mass of energy basically spinning around a calm center. There's a million differences between say, an earthbound hurricane and a space hurricane, but the fact that they're you could even call both hurricanes is kind of startling, and actually, it seems to me, Chuck, kind of like it's presenting like a new pioneer in scientific research now. Like, we're like, okay, how does this happen? Where do these come from? What is going on here?
I agree. And I also have to admit I was distracted for a minute because I was obsessed with trying to figure out what I was doing on August 20th, 2014.
Did you ever figure it out?
No, because I didn't open up my calendar and go back, but I did find out that it was a Wednesday. Okay. So I know we probably weren't recording this.
No.
And it was a year after our TV show aired, which aired over the course of 10 days?
Yeah, you were probably in hiding still.
May have been.
Yeah.
But I think that's probably a good place. No, we can't break yet, can we?
Sure we can. It's a short stuff. Anything goes.
All right, let's take a break then. I'll get my head back in the game.
It's crazy how much we have to pay for outdated, impersonal healthcare, and even crazier that we all just accept it. It's time to face facts. Healthcare is backwards. Luckily, there's Forward, a new approach to primary care that's surprisingly personal and refreshingly straightforward. Forward never makes you feel like just another patient. Backed by top-rated doctors and the latest tech, Forward gives you access to personalized care whenever you need it. Using in-depth genetic analysis and real-time blood work, Forward's top-rated doctors provide you with in-depth insights to better understand your genetics, mental, and physical health. They then create custom, easy-to-understand plans to help guide you to achieving long-term health. With Forward, you get unlimited in-person visits with your doctor and access to care anytime via the Forward app, all for one flat monthly fee. It's time to stop accepting backwards healthcare and start moving your health forward. Visit GoForward.com today to learn more. That's GoForward.com.
Okay, Chuck, you took a salt tablet, you walked it off, and now your head's back in the game, right?
My head's back in the game. Where did you leave off?
I left off about how space hurricanes are basically presenting a new pioneer frontier in space research because
Yeah.
we didn't really know they existed. We suspected something like that existed, but we certainly had no idea that there were arms of plasma that spun around at staggering speeds, a calm center. But it's not wind we're talking about. These aren't clouds. This isn't water vapor. Like, this is plasma. These are ions and electrons and just incredible energy and magnetism. It has nothing to do with the earthbound hurricane, and yet it bears a striking resemblance to it. It's very bizarre.
Yeah, it is interesting in that there is what you can think of as precipitation in both, in that we get the rain on Earth, and theirs is electric precipitation.
Mm-hmm.
And it's super interesting that there is an eye and that they spin and have arms,
Yeah.
which, obviously is why they're called hurricanes. I know there was one meteorologist in here who, in the How Stuff Works article, that said he thought they might have been called space vortexes initially because it was over the North Pole and resembled the polar vortex. But they went with the space hurricane, I guess, because it's a little sexier probably.
Super.
One of the other ways that they're different is the sheer, well, from where they occur, obviously, the Earth's atmosphere from, I think, ground zero, or we should probably just say the ground.
The surface?
From the ground to about 5 to 9 miles up is where you're going to find an Earth hurricane.
Yeah, that's a troposphere.
Whereas the space hurricane is in the ionosphere, like I mentioned early on.
Mm-hmm.
And then the sheer size. This one, I think, was about 600 miles wide, right?
Right. And
which is huge.
It is. That's a good size. It's about double the size of like a giant Atlantic hurricane.
Yeah.
And it's spun really fast, 4,700 miles per hour, about 7,560 kilometers per hour, just whipping around. And again, there's a calm center where this activity is not happening, where this rotation is taking place, or is the center for the rotation. And we have a fairly good handle on hurricanes. Our explanation in our hurricanes episode notwithstanding, science generally understands how hurricanes here on Earth works.
Humans.
Right. Space hurricanes, again, this is new. There was one, I read an article about a guy who said, yeah, we're pretty sure one of these happened like 50 years ago, but we didn't have anything like the instrumentation today, so we couldn't document it. This is the first one we've actually documented. So this is like brand new to us. But rather than wind and water vapor and clouds, a space hurricane is made of plasma. And plasma, as we've talked about many times, Chuck, is the fourth state of matter, where it's like solid, and then you make it a little more energetic and it becomes liquid. A little more energetic, it becomes gas. Well, even more energetic than that is plasma, where it's such high temperature. And of course, temperature is just another measure. Are you thinking about where you were on August 20th, 2014 again?
No, I'm thinking about how plasma is the umami of states of matter.
Okay, good enough. As long as you're thinking about plasma right now.
I'm with you, man.
But it's so energetic and it's so high temperature, which is a measure of energy, that like the electrons and the positively charged nuclei just get ripped apart and spread apart so that they don't interact. So you just got this electrified, magnetized, incredibly hot, energetic gas. And that, instead of clouds of water vapor, are what make up the arms of the space hurricane.
Right. And as far as the conditions of when this happened in 2014, if you remember from our, not the sun episode, but what was it on? Solar winds?
We did one on space weather. Is that it?
Probably, when we talked about the 11-year cycle of the sun.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that. Well, we probably talked about it in both of them, but yes, space weather.
I think it was better in space weather.
I agree.
So at the time in 2014 when this happened, still don't know what I was doing that day, but on that Wednesday, the sun was at its maximum of that 11-year cycle that we talked about, and was also at a time of what the AccuWeather people called low solar and otherwise low geomagnetic activity. So the people that they interviewed from AccuWeather said that it did resemble an Earth hurricane in that there was there's usually like quiet, like the calm before the storm, the quiet conditions, and it was the same in space. Although now I think we're having we're not sure if it was the maximum of the 11-year cycle set against low geomagnetic activity, or if it was the minimum and this is a misprint.
Oh, I see. So I see. So what I understand is that whatever it was, the upshot is that the space weather was calm.
Right.
Like whatever normal space weather we get from the sun, it was generally calm, which is weird because you'd think that it would be that solar wind from the sun that would cause this kind of thing. But they're like, no, we actually have no idea where this thing came from. And the fact that it isn't related to the solar cycle, that 11-year cycle, makes them think that it's probably a little more common than we realize. And now that we know what to look for, we're going to start noticing them. So they think maybe it has to do with a change in the magnetic field lines where one was like ripped apart and then connected with the neighbor, releasing a tremendous amount of magnetic energy. That's one of the explanations I've seen. There's a few others too.
Yeah, and the to borrow your phrase, the upshot is that it's really not going to matter much to us on Earth. I guess if we had any kind of space exploration going on during one of these, that probably wouldn't be great if you were up there.
Right.
Just a guess, but they kind of come back with a line that you always hear when it's something that could disrupt satellites is, here on Earth, it might mess with your GPS. I feel like that's always what you hear.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, whenever there's satellite interference, it can be problematic. I mean, that was a big part of the space weather episode too, but yeah.
And Y2K, am I right?
Yeah. Man, we need to do an episode just on that. I can't wait to do that.
Really?
Yeah, we're going to, okay?
Sure. Yeah.
The 90s are back.
Are they?
From what I understand, yeah.
A new 70s sort of discotheque bar is opening in Atlanta this weekend. So
oh, sweet.
When things are feeling really good, I think you and me and Emily and Yumi should all go get our Studio 54 on.
I would love that. I'm going to go get some replacement goldfish for my platform shoes.
Great. Because those other ones have been dead for years.
They're getting a little gamey, I have to admit. You got anything else about space hurricanes?
Nothing else. Look out for them. It's the new thing.
Yeah, this is going to get a follow-up when we understand them a little more because they are amazing. So until then, this was your introduction to space hurricanes. I hope you enjoyed it. Chuck hopes you enjoyed it. Dave hopes you enjoyed it. And space stuff, short stuff is out.
Stuff You Should Know is a production of iHeartRadio. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, visit the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.